What if patriotism was never meant to stay the same? What if loving your country didn't always look like standing still, saluting a flag, or repeating slogans learned decades ago? Across Nepal and far beyond its borders, a quiet revolution is unfolding. Not in parliament halls, not on battlefields, but in classrooms, startups, streets, studios, and digital spaces. This is the story of young Nepalis who love their country deeply, but refuse to love it blindly. This isn't a rejection of Nepal. This is a redefinition of what it means to belong to it. There was a time when patriotism in Nepal had a single face. It was forged in hardship, in political instability, in war, poverty, and silence. To love the nation meant to endure, to sacrifice, to obey. For older generations, patriotism was survival itself, holding the country together when it felt like it might just fall apart. And that form of patriotism mattered. It protected Nepal when unity was the only shield it had. But history doesn't freeze, and neither do generations. Today's youth weren't born into revolution. They were born into contradiction. They grew up hearing stories of sacrifice while witnessing corruption. They were taught to love the nation, but not always allowed to question it. And so, they began to ask, why does loving Nepal mean staying silent? Why does criticism feel like betrayal? Why must patriotism look the same forever? For this generation, patriotism begins with curiosity, not conformity. Millions of young Nepalis now live outside the country, studying, working, creating. To some, this looks like abandonment. But if you listen closely to their stories, you'll hear that they carry Nepal in accents that never fade, in festivals celebrated thousands of miles away, in remittances, ideas, investments, and influence. They are not less Nepali because they are global. They're global because they are Nepali. For them, patriotism is not limited by geography. It travels, it adapts, it grows. This generation doesn't just perform patriotism, they practice it. They practice it through art that questions power, music that speaks uncomfortable truths, and films, podcasts, and platforms that tell stories once ignored. Their nationalism doesn't shout, it creates. They believe that loving Nepal means reflecting it honestly, both the beauty and the brokenness, because only truth can lead to growth. Young Nepalis are protesting, but not to burn the nation down. They protest to rebuild it. They speak against injustice, inequality, and the misuse of power, not because they hate Nepal, but because they believe it can be better. This generation understands something powerful. Questioning authority is not anti-national. Silence in the face of wrong is. Their patriotism is uncomfortable, and it's necessary. Some youth are not holding placards. They're holding plans. They build startups where systems have failed. They create jobs where opportunities were missing. They innovate where waiting became useless. Their love for Nepal looks like problem solving. They don't just ask, what can the country give me? They ask, what can I fix? This is patriotism expressed through responsibility. Despite all this global exposure, something remains unchanged. Dashin still matters. Tihar still glows. Respect for elders still shapes their values. This generation doesn't reject tradition, they reinterpret it. They understand that culture survives not by resisting change, but by breathing with it. They are rooted, not restricted. So for young Nepalis, patriotism today means caring enough to stay involved. It means speaking up instead of stepping back, building instead of blaming, and representing Nepal with dignity everywhere they go. It's no longer just about dying for the nation. It's about living responsibly for it. Nepal's future is not waiting. It is already speaking in multiple languages. Across borders, through ideas, action, and courage. This generation isn't erasing patriotism. They are evolving it. Whether the nation listens or not will decide what Nepal becomes next. This story is still being written, and this is only the beginning.